flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now join us for a moment of silence. Thank you. We're going to start off item 1, citizen concerns. Anything that is not on the agenda to be brought up, feel free, and like we have.
No.
He's a little scared when I'm walking. Todd Wick, Sheriff's Office. What I have with me here is our refund check from Advanced Correctional Healthcare for the year, for this fiscal year. It is the refund for the overage costs that are built into the contract. I think last year the sheriff presented you with a check that was right around $80,000, somewhere in that ballpark. This one this year is for $77,728.76.
All right, and we got to receive that.
Are you going to receive it for me?
All right, I'll move to receive it. Second. Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any discussion? No. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0. Thanks, sir. I'll take it now.
Who's going to say no to receiving a check?
All right, we'll see. Oh, she's the one that takes it? Okay.
Make sure it's still there, will you?
Everyone just wants to touch it.
And
Make sure it's still there.
And that's government in motion, everyone.
All right, anyone want to follow that up? Taking bids on checks we're receiving there. All right, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. I'll move the approval.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Young. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0. Moving on to the consent agenda. Items 3 through 4 constitute a consent agenda, routine action items to be considered by one motion. Items pass unanimously unless a separate vote is requested by a board member. Item 3, approval of board minutes of June 11th, 2019 meeting. Item 4A, approval of memorandum of personnel transactions. Item 4B, an authorization to initiate hiring process. And 4C, approval of personnel contracts between Rolling Hills Community Service Region and Woodbury County. I will move the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any further discussion on that? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0. And we're booking right along here. We'll move on to 6 here. David, are you ready? I'm jumping the gun for you. Community and Economic Development, David Gleiser, approval of request for $2,000 from lost funds, FY20 for the City of Sioux City, and the purpose of being a financial sponsor, Northwest Iowa Regional Marketing Group.
Thank you. David Gleiser, Community Economic Development Director. With me, I have Renee Billings from the City of Sioux City, Economic Development Specialist, and Jess Carrier, Economic Development Director for Monona County Economic Development Partnership. And this evening, we are here to request a financial sponsorship from the county to support the various events and programs and resources provided by the Northwest Iowa Regional Marketing Group. You may recall that in 2014, the economic development organizations of Monona, Plymouth, and Woodbury County submitted a joint application for funding from the state through the IEDA Regional Marketing Group grant opportunity. The plan we submitted was to use our local funds and the grant funds to develop and promote a marketing plan for the three-county region while also focusing on small business and entrepreneurial technical assistance. This was a dollar-for-dollar match grant, so every dollar we put in, the state would match a dollar. We were successful in being awarded. The grant was approved, and the City of Sioux City has served as the fiscal agent for the last 2 fiscal years that funding has been available. The county's contribution in the past years has been allocated from the Rural Economic Development Department budget, and since the 2 departments with Planning and Zoning and Rural Economic Development were consolidated, the new consolidated department, Community Economic Development, that budget that was submitted for fiscal year 20 did not anticipate that expense. And as state funding for the regional marketing grant opportunity is no longer available, the stakeholders within the three-county region have decided to continue to promote this partnership. Karen, if you could, we've got a short video that sort of highlights the work that we've been doing.
Okay.
Is it a 30-second video?
It's a little longer.
'Cause we got a set
Set
time.
time?
All right.
Well, I'll go for 30 seconds. And so, Jess, Renee, if you would like to add anything, this particular project that we've been working on for the last 3 years now has bared some fruit that you may recognize. Mardo Brewing was a brewery that started in Monona County, and through the various events and resources that we've provided, they've been able to grow their business plan to the level that it is at now, where they're going to be pretty soon opening their doors at the Promenade as Sioux City's newest brewery. And so there are a number of projects that we've worked with over the last 3 years that have actually developed into real projects.
All right, we'll have to,
Yep.
yep, so we'll be right back to you guys if you don't mind. Sorry about that. I didn't know Dave was going to talk so long, Renee.
This is really important, so.
Okay. All right, so moving on to item 5, from Board Administration, public hearing and sale of property parcel known as 1900 Riverside Boulevard. We are now in a public hearing. Anything to be said for or against the sale of the property? All right, seeing no one, I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by DeWitt. Any discussion? What are you saying? This is just about the public hearing.
Just to close the hearing.
Yep. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0, and now we are open to taking bids. If you would like to bid on this property, come on up. All right, just state your name and your bid amount, please.
What was that? My name and what?
Bid amount.
Oh, John Weber. I can just say any dollar amount.
As long as it's over the minimum.
$1,120 is the minimum.
I'll do the minimum.
1120. Go ahead.
Terry Murtaugh, 1,500.
Anyone else like to bid on the property? Going once. Going twice. All right. I'll move that we sell the property to Terry Murtaugh for $1,500.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Potabom. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? And Terry, if you get with Heather there, she's coming towards you there. Now, David, we are ready for your video.
Take your time, David. We're not bothering you, are we?
Cue the video, please.
We are working to build a strong entrepreneurial ecosystem in Northwest Iowa. The economic development organizations in our region have really come together to support entrepreneurship and encourage small business growth.
Sioux City's going through sort of a renaissance. The city's growing, and there's a lot of industrial growth, a lot of job growth. But what's unique about Sioux City is it has a great downtown. And like a lot of Midwestern cities, people are discovering the downtown again.
So we really wanted to be downtown because just look around. This used to be just a super popular place to be. There were hordes of people around here, you go 20, 30 years ago. And then everything kind of moved out towards the mall and other areas. And downtown, I lived downtown. I lived downtown for like 3 years or so, and we absolutely love it. There's walk everywhere. I can ride my bike down here to work. All those things have just made it a super easy choice.
Young professionals are more involved in our communities now than ever before. The fresh views and ideas they provide are really making a difference in our communities, which makes this a place they want to raise their families.
It's different than what I'm used to. I moved here from New York City about 2 years ago, and my wife and I knew that it would be different. When we came here and we started meeting people and we started seeing what the city had to offer, and what we could offer the city, we thought it was a great fit.
We're also trying to create opportunities for people to collaborate and explore their own entrepreneurial ideas, as well as inspire them to turn those ideas into action.
From what other entrepreneurs and people are talking about, we're pretty lucky to be where we're at. Northwest Iowa is people helping each other and working towards a common goal, and they want you to be successful.
We saw a need for connecting entrepreneurs to seasoned business owners, mentors, and investors, so we started hosting casual networking events. Connecting entrepreneurs to key people in our region, we had the chance to advance their business and become more successful than they would if they were doing it on their own.
I got a lot of guidance from our small business director. He gave me so much feedback and guided me in the direction that I wasn't sure if I was going in the right path. So he really helped me out.
Our schools have state-of-the-art facilities that offer hands-on learning experiences for people of all ages.
I think that we have been able to listen to what they have to say. What are their needs? Where are they going? And we have tried to implement the programs that will provide the professionals to fill those needs, to have that trained workforce that new companies and employers are looking for. I think we've gotten a lot better at our business tactics. Instead of coming up to them saying, hey, you want to buy some soap, we start through our options of soap and what they can do for your skin and make money from it and give it back to the community. They choose what materials they are going to use, what fragrances they're going to use. I help get those materials, but they actually fill out the orders, choose who we get it through, and then I take care of the financial part of it, but they do the rest.
Businesses in our region have less barriers and make more of an impact than they would if they were in a larger city.
A great place to live, a great school system, a safe environment, and a highly educated workforce.
The more that we continue to collaborate and support one another, the more growth and success we'll continue to see in the future.
And so I think that video does a really good job of, depicting some of the activities that the group has been involved in. And like I said, I wanted to take the time to really give the board a good presentation so you understand that this is really more than just some feel-good, sort of PR events. I mean, like I said, real projects have been birthed because of the work that we've been involved in. And, over $1 million SBA loan has just recently been awarded to one of the companies that we've worked with. So I guess I would just want to reiterate that the economic development organizations, as well as all the other partner agencies listed on that budget, really do see the value of coming together and pooling our resources to leverage additional support and services within the region. So, and with that, I would entertain any questions or comments the board may have.
Well, do you think it would be better to take it out of gaming, or?
You got more money available in gaming than you do in local option. Local option, they have restrictions, gaming is wide open.
Although a local option, it kind of, fits into the economic development side, right?
Yes. You got $88,000 unobligated for next fiscal year. He's talking about fiscal year 20.
Let's just take it from gaming here, and then maybe in the future just see if we can have it in the budget.
I appreciate it.
Anyone else oppose that idea?
Is that a motion?
I'll make that motion. Second. Motion by Raddick, second by Potabom. Any further discussion on that item?
Question, for the differences noted in the different years, where is that coming from?
Previous year?
It says difference 400, 2,300.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, Renee Billings with the city's Economic Development Department. I put together just a draft budget here, just to let everyone get in front of their organizations to get approval. The 400, there's a little bit of wiggle room in some of these events. We've also had some interest from outside businesses in sponsoring some events, so that can be covered pretty easily. In the out years, most of it comes with website development. Currently, I've done all the website development, and everyone's been happy with it so far. So that would be if anyone wanted to hire an outside firm and do any upgrades.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Let's see, we'll recess the Board of Supervisors meetings, convene Wolf Creek Drainage District Trustees meeting right now. It's 4:45. So item 7, public hearing, receive comments and consider approval of the Commissioner's report for reclassification of the Wolf Creek Drainage District.
Good afternoon. Once again, I'm Brian Bloom. I was the appointed drainage engineer for the Wolf Creek Drainage District reclassification. I'll just very quickly give a summary of the report, a copy of which is on the back there right next to the stairs if anyone in attendance would like to have a copy of the report. I filed that report on May 7th, 2019. I'm a licensed engineer in the state of Iowa and went to Iowa State University, graduated in 1998. Charles Woodman and Ronald Wood performed the duties of commissioners along with myself in order to complete this reclassification. Wolf Creek was established in 1908. It has not had a reclassification since its establishment. It serves approximately 8,564 acres and provides both drainage and flood benefit to the lands within the watershed. For 3.5 miles of the total 9, the facility has levee embankments that were constructed in order to provide flood benefit, flood protection. It was discovered that additional lands adjacent to the district received benefits, and the board adopted a resolution of necessity for annexation, which was completed on September 19th, 2017. Inequities were discovered within the existing schedule, so the board ordered reclassification. Only acres receiving flood protection from the levees or drainage benefit from the open ditch were included in the new assessment schedule. Now, those lands were defined using the Iowa Drainage Guide, which stated that lands with more than 1% slope did not require artificial drainage. And also we used LiDAR information to develop topographical survey information so that we could establish who was actually benefiting from the construction of those levees along the facility. All lands that received drainage benefits were examined based upon the following factors. Benefit acres. Again, we took a look at who needed the artificial drainage. The 1% land slope was used as that determination, again, from Iowa State University Extension Drainage Guide. A wetness factor. That wetness factor is determined by the soil types of your parcel and the measurement of the drainage need of that soil type. The proximity to the outlet, how close was the facility brought to your property? Percent usage, how much of the facility did you use? And then a ponding factor was also provided in order to credit those lands which detain or retain surface runoff from entering the facility. And then we also took a look at the lands that received flood protection or flood benefit. So again, you had an area which benefited, that was the benefit acres. Then we had a levee use factor, which is the percent of horizontal length of the levee constructed that provided protection to your parcel, and the levee elevation. how much percentage of that levee embankment did your property need in order for it to receive protection from overland flooding. So all those factors were given a numerical value. Those values were then multiplied by one another, and the parcel with the largest value was assigned the 100% classification. And then all other parcels were evaluated against that 100% parcel. This is in Iowa Code Section 468.39. The overall value of the schedule was established at $100,000, so that if you had a copy of the report and the assessment schedule within it, if the drainage district was trying to acquire $100,000, then the value, the dollar amount value next to your parcel is the dollar amount that your parcel would be required to pay in a drainage assessment. So if the facility was trying to accumulate $200,000, then you would multiply the value by 2 in order to come up with your assessment. Assessments can be paid over a 10-year period at a minimum with a waiver plan, which also is described within the Iowa Drainage Code. The overall spread of the schedule was reviewed by the commissioners in order to evaluate the equitability of the schedule. If you were to take the dollar amount of the schedule divided by the acres within the watershed, you would come up with an average dollar per acre value. This assessment schedule and the 100% parcel has a 1.5 times factor. So that means 1.5 times the average is what the 100% parcel would pay. Typically, I see this value in the factor of 3. So being that we've got a 1.5 times factor here, the assessment schedule is extremely equitable and even across all parcels. Now, we do have an objection that has been placed on file. I would like to read that at this time before we take comments from the public, if I may. Tim, it is your objection. I'm going to read it here. I, Tim Doms, am filing an objection to reclassification of Wolf Creek Drainage District. Attached is a letter from a lawyer, Jim Hudson Law Firm, stating all the problems with this reclassification. Filed June 12, 2019. I will now read the letter from Hudson Law Firm regarding Wolf Creek Drainage District. Dear Tim, this letter will review, affirm, and supplement a meeting I had with you at my office on October 4, 2017, together with Dave Folsom, as well as a telephone conference I had this week reviewing reports from ISG engineers. You had concerns that the annexation report prepared by Brian Bloom, ISG, recommended that 911.9 acres of land had never received drainage or flood benefits from the Wolf Creek Drainage District facilities and therefore should be removed from the assessment schedule. Apparently, this had something to do with a 1% slope, which indicates to me he was talking about either flood protection or surface water. This is very rare to have this occur and must be justified since section 468.49 in the final sentence provides no tract of land included within the boundary of any drainage district shall be exempt from drainage assessments or reassessments except as herein provided. Herein provided means that there has been a merger or the district has been severed from some natural or constructed barrier. Also, it is presumed that every square acre in drainage district receives some type of material benefit from district facilities. Absent a very strong showing on the part of the engineer, acres should not be removed from the assessment schedule, but should be left in at a minimum assessment of $5 per acre. Now, if I may, I'd like to comment on that paragraph from Jim Hudson, attorney that I respect. I've worked with him on many different drainage district jobs. What he is talking about here is leaving an acre on the assessment schedule at a minimum cost of $5. Whether it was right or wrong to be put on the assessment schedule. Well, this schedule has been on file since 1908. That's 100 years. I did not want to go forward in time with there being a parcel, whether it be at a minimum charge or not at a minimum charge, on the assessment schedule. I wanted to get it cleaned up and have it be accurate. I had to find a definition for what is the defining factor for a parcel of ground to require artificial drainage. I found that within the Iowa Drainage Guide provided to us by Iowa State University. So therefore I used that definition of the 1% slope in order to define my boundary. So that is the reason why I moved forward with removal of these parcels. Now again, yes, we had the option of keeping them on the assessment schedule, but I felt that to be incorrect because we did not have any definition to stand behind that they needed artificial drainage. And these acres were not benefiting from the flood protection provided by the levees. So that's the reason why I recommended that we remove those parcels. And we did that as part of our annexation process. So the question of those parcels being on or off at this time is not what we can take care of. We've moved past that part. We are now to the value that's being assessed to the acres that we have determined to be within the watershed after the annexation. I'll return to the letter. In the third paragraph of the letter, you also had concerns that an adjoining drainage district, which is managed by 3 elected trustees, was using the Wolf Creek Drainage District as an outlet and is not paying anything for that usage. It should be suggested to the engineer, and he should review section 468.132, which provides for a common outlet charge when an adjoining drainage district uses the same ditch, in this case belonging to and being managed by Wolf Creek Drainage District. There is a procedure for assessing that district and having the other districts pay a portion of the expenses to repair or improve, enlargen, or deepen another ditch. You expressed some other concerns, and I am not certain I remember those well enough to comment in this letter. So I trust this letter covers those items which you are concerned about. If there's anything further, please let me know. Yours truly, James C. Hudson. Now to respond to Jim's comments regarding a common outlet agreement. The upper Wolf Creek does drain into the Wolf Creek Drainage District. The upper Wolf Creek drains into the Wolf Creek, which drains into the Heights Drainage District. The upper Wolf Creek drains into the Wolf Creek, which drains into the Heights Drainage District, which drains into the Little Sioux Drainage District, before it finally gets to the Missouri River, where we no longer have a drainage district. We could take a look at a common outlet agreement between Upper Wolf and Wolf Creek. However, I have to treat everybody the same. So if we start talking about a common outlet between Upper Wolf and Wolf Creek, then I also have to start talking about a common outlet agreement between the Upper Wolf, the Wolf Creek, the Heights, and the Little Sioux. I would have to take it all the way down to what then would be considered to be a natural waterway, the Missouri River. So I did not pursue or ask for a common outlet agreement because, first of all, we didn't have one in existence. Over 100 years has gone by. Someone at some point, I would have assumed, would have developed that agreement before I came along to do my work. That was not done. I also took a look at the fact that we had so many districts downstream that the Wolf Creek would be asked to play a part in with maintenance and repair of those additional facilities. Those additional facilities do not have a common outlet agreement. We can open up that situation. We can start developing these agreements between all of the drainage districts involved. But right now, we have a situation where each drainage district is serving the purpose of maintenance and repairs for each one of those facilities as they have been established. We can definitely go into doing those common outlet agreements. However, it's going to bring more drainage assessments onto these landowners because they will be tied into more miles of drainage district facility. That does not mean that we can't do it. But at this time, I do not feel like it would be in the advantage of the Wolf Creek and its landowners to move forward with a common outlet agreement that would possibly pull them into more drainage assessments with the Heights and the Little Sioux Drainage District downstream of them. At this time, I would like to ask the board if you have any questions for me about this written objection. And if we do not have any questions, then I would move back to the chair to open up for public comment.
Will do. We're now open for public comment on the public hearing. Come on up, say your name at the microphone.
Tim Donald. This Heights ditch by my house, it's a little tiny drainage ditch. How's that hooked into the Wolf Creek? Has nothing to do with the Wolf Creek.
The Heights Drainage District was actually named the Wolf Creek until a certain point in time where the Heights Drainage District had a trusteeship developed before they went underneath the control of the Supervisors of Monona County. So it is the main ditch of the Heights that serves as an outlet to the Wolf Creek, just like the Wolf Creek serves as an outlet to the upper Wolf Creek.
You're saying the Heights goes into the Wolf Creek?
The Wolf Creek goes into the Heights. The Wolf flows downstream into the Heights, which then flows downstream into the Little Sioux Drainage District.
The Heights Creek starts about a half a mile from my house. I know where it starts, and it has nothing to do with the Wolf Creek.
That is a lateral of the Heights Drainage District.
Well, I disagree there. And then I disagree with the 1% slope. I paid this lawyer $1,000, and he says that a drainage district is more than 1% slope. It goes all the way to the top of the hill, topographical hill, and that is Jim Hudson. And he wrote him and his dad wrote most of the laws in the state of Iowa on drainage.
Like I said, Tim, I know Jim. I know Jim's. I had the opportunity to know Jim's dad. I respect everything that they've done. And in this case, we had to define where the need for artificial drainage needed to be. There are drainage districts out there that has water flowing from the top of the hill all the way into the facility, and those lands are included in that drainage district. In this case, you have a drainage district that is on river bottom, and it is establishing where that artificial drainage need is required as a part of this work.
Okay, but where does most of this water come from? It comes from the hills. 90% of that water comes up out of those hills, starts running over the banks, up on the upper Wolf Creek, runs across the road, doesn't even get in the levee. So why
And the
shouldn't
water
that
would
be
go,
included?
And you would be able to get lighter, go ahead, sir.
You're gonna have to share the microphone.
Sure. You would have to, once again, take into account the water that comes all the way from the Okoboji, Iowa area, if you want to take that to mean that you're going to take all the water that flows through that channel and have it be included in your drainage district.
Well, this report you made is flawed because it also excludes Lum Hollow, which goes up around behind, whose house is that back in there? Huh? Lum Hollow? Who's out there? Yeah. All that water comes down through there, right?
It goes clear back up down there behind.
Yeah, and then they did exclude all that ground? Yeah. So we're getting all that water down through there, and what
Yes.
good am I getting out of it? I pay taxes, I added it up here, $5,000 a year. You know how much water I've ever put in that creek? None.
Then does your land get protection from the levees?
I don't think so, not when I flood 4 out of 5 years. And it's
Is your
because
water
of all
coming
that,
from a different drainage district?
it's coming out of the top of those hills, up on that, upper Wolf Creek and that Lum Hollow and all those places you're trying to take out of Payne. I think this whole thing is flawed. And so does this lawyer right here, and I don't think these guys can pass this.
I did talk with Jim. It's not that it's not that he is saying that it is flawed. He believes that there is no reason to take ground out of a drainage district if it was once put in.
Yeah, how much are you taking out? You're taking out a lot,
And again, we did that back during the annexation proceedings. This is the reclassification. So again, we've already decided what lands we needed to take a look at as part of our reclassification. And again, we are always going to have lands that are providing water into a drainage district that they are not a part of that district.
Why would you take
when you are on the river bottom?
Why would you take one man's land out that lives right beside another man's land on a hill? And his land, his water's going the same way as this other guy's, and you take one out and leave one in.
I had to take one out because he has ground that has a slope that does not need artificial drainage. The other individual had land that was flat and needed artificial drainage. So if there is a boundary line drawn, that is the reason why.
Well, whatever. That's all I gotta say. Oh, I guess I did have one more thing.
Come on up, Tim.
Me and Dave Folsom are trying to be trustees of this drainage district to get it straightened out. And we had like 22 or 3 votes, and I called up here and found out how many people are paying into this drainage district. And it was like 50-some, but you're knocking some out, so do they even count? And do we have enough votes now?
If I understand your question correctly, you would like to know how many landowners are in the Wolf Creek Drainage District in order to determine how many votes you need to take over trusteeship.
Right.
Okay. Now what can be done there is
We've already got like 23 or 4 or 5.
I would like to, definitely confirm this with a drainage attorney, because I am not a drainage attorney. But I would sure like a chance to discuss the votes that are applied in each individual case of the assessment schedule. You would take this assessment schedule and count the names on the schedule in order to determine how many people are there for a vote. So if a landowner has a husband and wife, that's 2 votes, from what I have been told in the past.
Okay. So,
And then if it's a trusteeship, then the trustee land has a single vote, but everyone named has a percentage of that vote.
how about the state and the federal government that owns all that land down in there? Are they one vote?
The state would get 1 vote, the federal government would get 1 vote.
Well, like I say, we're trying to get it in our hands, become trustees, me and Dave also, Doug Wiggs. And, we're almost there, and I think this should be held off until we get it. We've lived there all our lives, right beside that ditch. We know what we're doing. Actually, I don't think we needed to pay $60,000 to tell somebody that we needed it dug out and widened. That's all I gotta say.
Are there any more comments from the public? Okay, so then at this time, with no other comments from the public, I would ask that the board take into consideration the objection that was placed on file by Tim Doms. It is my recommendation that the issue of acres being removed from the assessment schedule was taken care of during the annexation proceedings that was completed on September 19th, 2017. And that the written comment will be placed on file for that concern within the Wolf Creek Drainage District records. I would also like to recommend that the board approve this commissioner's report with denial of the objection to the common outlet agreement to be established. My basis for that recommendation is in an effort to keep these landowners at a lower cost of maintenance for their facility, because a common outlet agreement would open up to other common outlet agreements downstream of the Wolf Creek, bringing them into more assessments. Was there a question?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Would it not be,
Can you come up to the microphone, state your name?
would it not be, the people that are still gonna be paying into it though, would they not be paying more?
For the minutes, we need you to say your name.
Doug Wiggs? Would they not be paying more then? Like, wouldn't we pay more because we're taking them out or not?
When the Wolf Creek Drainage District does work, you are spreading those dollars over the acres within the assessment schedule. So yes, in terms of dollars over the acres within the watershed, when we reduce the watershed acres, your dollar per acre is going up. So that would be correct. But when you're looking into common outlet agreements, you would be applying miles and miles of drainage districts downstream that now the Wolf Creek and its landowners would be asked to take part in payment for that maintenance and repair.
Is there a reason why it's changing then from what it has been?
I am recommending that we do not change. I am recommending that we do not go into common outlet agreements with those districts downstream.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I am also also saying that because I don't want to do that, I don't want to go upstream and ask upstream the upper Wolf Creek to pay as a common outlet agreement. I cannot treat the people of the upper Wolf Creek differently than I treat the people of the Heights or of the Little
Should I ask this, is the cost, as far as cost share goes, what, I mean, has that been looked into, what it would cost to go on below and what it would cost from above to bring some more people in? I mean, from the top side of the Wolf Creek?
in terms of the percentage that you're going to get from a common outlet agreement. That was not a part of the scope of work. I haven't went into that. But again, I did not want to open up 12 miles of open ditch that the Wolf Creek never has had to pay into before. And I'm estimating that 12 miles. I would have to take a look at a map to tell you how many miles it is.
All right.
I got another question. You never did answer me how much land you're taking out of the assessment.
The lands that were taken out is correct by what Jim Hudson has here in his letter. It was also in my report of annexation.
You're taking out 900 something?
911.9 acres.
And 300 of it is west of the West Fork. Is that correct?
There was lands west of the West Fork. I would have to look to see how many acres that was.
And that's the only land that I think should be taken out is west of the West Fork. And I think all these people that are here that are my neighbors agree with me. And I think we should have a vote on it and be able to vote on something like this.
That was done in November, was it?
September.
September.
I have a question for him if I could. At that time, we took out 911. Were acres added into that had been getting benefit that weren't
That
in?
is correct. We added some acres at that time. 360 is my recollection at this
That's good.
time.
I just needed to know about how many.
Yeah, they should have been paying all the time.
Okay, so to get back to the recommendation, I recommend denial of the objection, place the objection on file, and approve the commissioner's report for reclassification, which places the assessment schedule on file.
We're just basically receiving and approving what the commission did, is that correct?
That is correct.
I guess any other comment on public hearing before we move on to that? All right, I'll move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Ung, to close the public hearing. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0. And then, so we would move the approval of the commissioner's report.
And move to deny the objection.
And deny the objection. That's my motion.
Second.
By Raddick, second by Ung. Any further questions on that?
Yeah, I've got a couple. Since they threw in the other little caveat here about trusteeship, is it imperative that we approve this right now, or is that a thing that can be looked at too?
Is it imperative that you approve the
assessment schedule
commissioners and the assessment schedule?
I don't know what the timeline is, what the, you know, if we're up against a hard timeline, or if we have time to look into the others.
The assessment schedule has been on the books for 100 years. I guess that's a pretty good indication that if you so choose not to make a motion, you could do so. We did the work. The payment is there. You'll accrue interest if you decide not to assess the payment. That interest rate would be a simple interest rate. I believe it to be at 5%. I'd have to check that with the county records.
You mean they would accrue interest?
Yes, the drainage district itself would accrue interest at a rate of 5%.
May I ask a question?
Sure, Pat.
Just as far as the assessment, when does this go into effect?
Well, we could put it into effect as soon as, you could get it onto the books and ready to go during the month of July. We could be on this fall's taxes.
Diane, can you step forward?
I'm Diane Swoboda Peterson. Yes. I met him on the phone. Anyway, Deputy Recorder, I only have a couple of weeks left to get those records changed so that they get rolled into the new.
But they're supposed to be current. So if the board approves this tonight,
It'll take effect for this September's taxes
okay,
if they approve the reclassification.
all right.
And once that is done, then no interest would accrue, except for those that don't pay in full. You would have the waiver plan in action.
And I understand that. I mean, my feeling is we go ahead with this, but I would like to pursue what he was talking about beforehand as far as turning the trusteeships over if they have enough people interested in doing that. But we can do that apart from this. I don't want them to accrue any more interest because.
With good guidance, the landowners have their best interests in mind. And, again, with good guidance, trusteeships work well.
Like I said, to get that question answered, I don't want to make them pay any interest
I don't either.
waiting for it, so.
As you know, I try to do my work with the most cost-effective nature in mind.
I guess I got two questions. So water is flowing through the upper Wolf Creek, and then into the Heights, and then into the Little Sioux, but the Heights and Little Sioux people are paying no assessment.
They have their own assessment schedules, just like the Wolf Creek does, just like the upper Wolf Creek does.
But
So everybody's got their own separate assessment schedules at this time. Nobody has a common outlet agreement with anybody upstream.
Okay.
That one is in Monona County, right?
That is correct.
We don't have
Little Sioux's in Monona County, Heights in Monona County. At the county line, we switched to the Wolf Creek, and then you got the upper Wolf Creek up above.
That part I agree with you. I don't want to see us start doing those common outlet because we would be taking part of 4 different ones.
Again, I would have to recommend treatment of everybody being the same, and that opens up to miles of facility needing to be paid for by the people of Upper Wolf Creek, and the same is true of Wolf Creek.
I'd like to comment on that. We're getting all their water, why shouldn't they be paying for it? We're paying to keep those ditches up, which they're not been kept up for, 60 years? Nothing's been done to them, so we're flooding 4 out of 5 years.
Okay? I'm going to ask you the question then, do you want to pay for the downstream drainage districts that the Wolf Creek puts their water into?
Yeah, I think we should, because they're in a lot better shape. You could go right to that county line and it's twice as wide and maintained very well.
All right, Tim, and
Right by my house.
I'm also going to state that those drainage districts have many more miles than what the Wolf Creek would gain by bringing Upper into it.
According to this, there's another one that should be paying into it, and you're taking out, there's 2 laterals you're taking out, right? Plus,
Of the Wolf Creek?
yeah, up on the
No,
Wolf Creek,
sir.
2 laterals.
No,
Aren't
sir,
you taking out 2
no, sir,
laterals?
I'm not taking out those 2 laterals, no.
Okay, and then there's another one that's, named up in there, what was it? I can't even see the paper now. there's another creek, that's Weber, that drains right into the Wolf Creek, right?
The Weber Drainage District does, that is correct.
And they should be paying into it.
They are paying into it. Those landowners are a part of the assessment schedule to the Wolf Creek.
They are.
They are.
Well, it seems to me that we're getting flooded every year, and like I say, I've owned that farm for 15 years and never moved an ounce of water on there. And I'm paying $5,000 a year taxes, drainage taxes. All I'm doing is getting flooded by the water upstream.
You won't be paying $5,000 after this is done. You are one of the inequitabilities on this schedule.
Well, it looks like I am. According to the new assessment, it keeps going up. It's pretty close to $5,000 a year, what you got down for me now. What is that percent amount to?
The percentage of the overall?
Yeah.
I'd have to work with you on that later on.
Well, I mean, you got a list that says percent, and it's higher on some land than others. What does that mean?
That percentage is the classification. So again, your factors all multiply together, you get a value out of those factors. The one that has the highest value is the 100%. So then your value for that parcel then is divided by the 100% value.
What is the value? How much water you're putting into it?
It is the factors that have a numerical value placed to them based upon NRCS curve numbers for wetness coefficients, things of that nature, that all come together to form a assessable unit.
Well, why am I even paying into that ditch? Because my water's got to go over to the West Fork to ever get out, because that whole ditch is plugged up. And Doug is farming a farm that's the same way.
Well,
all that Dewey Anderson land, none of that water goes in there.
We can take a look at LIDAR. I can talk to you personally. I can show you why you have not only drainage benefit, but also flood protection benefit to those acres. If you're telling me that the water doesn't flow there, then the levees should be giving you protection from overland flows.
We've never had water flow. Our tube's been plugged ever since I've
If your tube is plugged, then we gotta get the tube fixed.
It's not the tubes, it's the river. The river is silted in 4 foot higher than it
If the river is silted in, then we need a petition to clean up the ditch.
Well, and in honor of moving along here, a lot of these issues are unrelated to
the reclassification.
What is on the agenda. And those would be resolved in your trustees meeting with trustees, correct?
That's correct.
And then
or a
you guys have an
petition.
election or petition or change, we would recognize that. So
that is correct.
With what we've got on the agenda, with what is legally before us, I think we either come to a decision on it now, unless you guys really wanted to defer and run the risk of interest on the properties.
I want to say something. We've been trying to get to be trustees of this for a year, and we almost got the votes. I'd like to have you guys hold off on this till we can become trustees, which should be very quickly. We have all the legal documents, and I think we have enough votes to do it.
The issue is that the change of properties in the district, that's already happened, right? I mean,
well, when we get to be trustees, we're going to change it different anyway. Well, we've already made up our mind. You talked to Dave Folsom about that, because he's going to be one of the trustees.
but if it takes the time frame it does, it's not going to be able to change what happened in September.
No, it's just going to cost everybody a whole lot more money if you guys pass this, because it's going to have to be changed again. That's what I'm trying to say.
We already made the change, though, or the trustees, and it's already happened. This is just the report of reclassification for reclassification.
I don't think any of us have any objection to letting other trustees handle this. I recall some town halls where trustees were brought up and nominated without being in the room, so it's not an enviable job, but it's not one that we're necessarily vying for.
We've been there all our lives. I probably know a little bit more than the Board of Supervisors.
questions or discussion from the board?
Can you repeat the motion, please?
It was to approve the commissioner's report for reclassification and to,
That's not the motion you're on right now. The motion you're on is to deny the,
Deny the objection.
okay. So to deny the objection,
and then you,
then we,
Then
okay.
you can move to approve the commissioner's
Okay,
report.
so I guess any other discussion on denial of objection? And on that, you'd want probably like the entire district to actually vote on whether or not they want that. But. All right, well, no other discussion. All those in favor of the denial, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Nay.
It passes 3-1. And then on approval of the commissioner's report for reclassification, I will move that.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Potabom. Any other discussion on the commissioner's report for reclassification? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, that passes 4-0. All right, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and as a district, if you guys want to work things out together, go ahead. That's, I mean, we're going to recognize what you guys do as a district. So we will adjourn the Wolf Creek Drainage District Trustees meeting, continue Board of Supervisors meeting. Item 8 from Secondary Roads, approval of a resolution adding the D25 PCC patching project to the Woodbury County 5-year construction program.
Hi, Ben Kuzler, Assistant County Engineer. This resolution is needed to add an emergency repair project east of Holly Springs on D25, Old 141. The county did the repairs of the road, and now we're going to be doing some pavement work there that requires letting through the Iowa DOT and add this to the 2025 year plan. And the funds are laid out. 80% will come from the ER fund and 20% from farm to market.
Sounds great. All right, I'll go ahead and move that. Any other, I guess?
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Potabom. Any other discussion on this? Just a quick question. Do we do a crack sealing on any of this concrete out there too?
We do have a program. Normally in a year we need it, but crack sealing is usually done on an HMA pavement, unless we do have some concrete pavements that have to be treated a little bit differently. They use a different substance. So, well, you see some instances of that needs to be reported, or?
No, I just wondered if.
Yeah, the HMA pavements, usually we get out and take a look at some of the worst ones, and then also mark, usually after about 3 or 4 years, the new pavement's down, we go back and some of the thermal cracks are already starting to show up.
Sure. So on like every third year or something, you'll check the concrete road?
Normally, a crack seal lasts a little longer than that, maybe 15 to 20 years.
Really? Wow, okay.
If we're lucky enough, you can get through till the next time you have to resurface.
How come it doesn't last like that in the city?
So some of the projects we do now are called a cold in place, which helps repel that thermal cracking.
All right, any other questions or discussion on the item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0. Reports on committee meetings. Going to start with Matthew.
Nope.
Marty. Rocky.
Nope.
Check and see what I had. I don't know that I did now. I did not have any committees, so moving on to citizen concerns. Any citizen concerns to be held out there? I'd like to recognize and embarrass Taylor, who comes from us from North Carolina. Was it Campbell College, is that right? All right. New reporter. Moving on to board concerns. Matthew. What are your,
I have one. I'd hate to end this meeting without mentioning the passing of Frank Lemire. He was a gentleman who, whether you agreed with him, disagreed with him, you always knew where he stood, and he did a lot of good for the people that he represented. And I have the fortunate to be able to call him a friend, too. Had a lot of good discussions about baseball and golf with him, which most people would laugh at, but quite the gentleman that worked very hard his whole life, so I just want to make sure that I mentioned it.
I had nothing else to bring up, so we are adjourned.
So, John,